We made Aliyah from Dayton, Ohio, which is a state in the United States. Many years we had decided that we wanted to make Aliyah, but we didn't really have the opportunity because of the price of things in Israel. It was very difficult to find a place. So for many years my husband was going back and forth looking for places. It just so happened there was a family here in Nechusha that we knew, and they brought my husband here one day, and he said, "This is the place for us." We were looking for a place that was a dati, and not exactly in a city, and but not too far removed. And so I have 8 children, and the oldest at the time was, I think, 14. No, she was 13. We were coming from Ohio, which was a little bit different than most people in the United States. They're usually coming from bigger cities, so there's more of a presence of like nefesh b'nefesh or the misra הקליטה that like helps you. So the closest place for us was Chicago, which was 5 hours away. So it was a little bit difficult at first, a lot of the process. My husband was already he's a kind of like a half Israeli citizen. He's considered like a toshav chozer because he was in the army here. But that's all he was here. He wasn't like a regular citizen. So he was kind of in limbo. But he did have a teudat zehut. So because of that, I made Aliyah with the kids on my own. And he was just kind of there for the ride. But he still was included in the group of making Aliyah. And we also decided, I was the one who, I guess, kind of decided that I didn't want to go with the whole group, like the whole fanfare with the parade and the people speaking. And I just wanted to go and have like a little bit of a seder and peace. Because already, when you go, you're allowed 2 giant boxes with you on the airplane. And we had 8 people. And then the 2 boxes, there was just a lot. So I thought it'd be better if we could just, so they have an option, nefesh b'nefesh, where you can go like on a private and they still pay for your ticket. Mm-hmm. That was also a whole issue with paying tickets, whatever. So we came in August, and how
many years ago?
It was 7 years ago. Oh. Yeah. So we came to the Moshav, directly to the Moshav. That was a whole interesting. That's like a half an hour story just there. Yeah, tell you the whole story. So we bought a migrash here before we made Aliyah, and we tried to build a house beforehand, but that didn't work. So we decided we were going to rent. So then a few weeks before, we found a place. We had a contract. We were going to rent. And a few weeks before we, were getting on the plane, the guy calls us up that was the owner of the house and says that he doesn't know if the house is going to be ready in time. So, because there weren't any windows. So the house was all good, but there were no windows. So that was kind of a problem. My husband decided to just put randomly on the Google group for the Moshav, does anybody have a place that we can rent for the month of August, while we're waiting for this house to be done? And sure enough, a family offered their house to us. They said they're going away, the Magens. They're going away on a tiul with their family for the end of August, the last 2.5 weeks, and you're welcome to use our house. They didn't know us, and they didn't know anything about us. They just knew we're making Aliyah to Nechusha. We have 8 kids. That was it. So that was really funny because I was like, who are these people that don't even know who we are, and they're willing to like lend their house to us? In the end, what happened is they were so excited that we were making Aliyah that they decided to cancel their trip, and they stayed in Nechusha, and they wanted to like welcome us. So they really took the whole thing very, very seriously, and they stayed, and we all lived in their house together for about 2 weeks until they finished our house. But the whole process, when we got off the plane, there were people that we knew that weren't from Nechusha that were there, welcoming us. But there were also people that my husband had just met, when he was here a few times. And they came Tomer Rosenfeld came with his guitar, and some kids had come, and it was very overwhelming wasn't the word. It was very emotional, because we were already completely exhausted. And at that time, my youngest was about almost 2. So it was like, all the kids were very young, and it was just overwhelming and emotional, but it was really nice. And there was a big balagan at the airport. We were like out of it because of the time difference and everything, and I was worrying about where the boxes were. We had musical instruments that I was trying to remember where they were, and then the kids, and making sure everybody got from the airport to the moshav was like, they didn't have transportation for us. They provide transportation. The nefesh b'nefesh, makes that happen, but they don't really know exactly how it's going to work. So we had like a minibus, but the minibus wasn't big enough. So they had to call 2 more taxis, and it was like we were there for like a really long time waiting to leave. And then in the end, I don't even know how everybody got here. Like, it was just really, I think the people that were there helping us just kind of like, okay, you go in that car. Like, I had my daughter Gabriella, who was 13. She took like my youngest, or no, it was like the second youngest. Like, she had like 2 small kids with her in a taxi by herself, and no adults. Like, nobody knew where they were. They were just going to Nechusha. And anyway, in the end, everybody ended up, they brought the kids and everybody to Chaim Marom's house. They had a whole big meal for us. My taxi ended up at the house. I was like in a separate place for some reason. And it was really amazing. Maybe it was all like, it was that I was supposed to see it because I needed to see it. But they brought me to the house that we were supposed to be renting. And the minivan that had all of our boxes and instruments in it was there as well. And there were people unpacking the car. And I didn't know anybody, like not one person. But there was like a chain of people, and they were taking the boxes out and they were putting them into the house that we were staying in. Well, not yet staying in, but. And I was just like overwhelmed. Like even now I'm going to think about it, I'm going to start crying, because it was just amazing to see such outpouring of generosity from people that you don't even know. And to think that you're part of something now that you weren't part of before, and you made the right choice, and like all these emotions come flooding back into you. And it was really an amazing moment. And then, so that like burns in my brain as definitely a memorable Aliyah moment. And then we went and we had a meal by the Maroms, which is a family that we're close with still to this day. And Tomer brought his guitar again and was playing, and that was the beginning. That was like the day of Aliyah. And as the time went on, it got more intense. The reality of not really knowing everything. It's like starting your life over again, but this time you're like starting with already a family. So it was hard. It still is hard, but I think where you live and the people that help you make a huge difference in terms of your quality of life and your ability to get by and get through the day and feel positive. Mm-hmm. So you want me to keep talking more? Yeah. Okay. So when we were living with the Magens for the first 2 weeks, that was also the weeks that we had to prepare for school. And up until that point, my kids had never gone to school because I homeschooled my kids. So school was a new experience for sure. From everything from like having the shirt with the semel on it to having to pack lunches, and then packing lunches and not understanding like the food differences here, like how cottage cheese works with like, different percentages and, milk, and just everything was kind of upside down for me. Mm-hmm. That was really hard at the beginning, the food. And also just how people eat here is different. In America, we tend to have like a big meal at the end of the day. And here it's more in the middle of the day. And the end of the day, it's kind of like eggs for the most part. So that was hard to adjust to. Mm-hmm. I think with all of those things, even like doing the laundry, all the stuff, I never used to hang my laundry out to dry because where I lived, there wasn't hardcore sun to dry your clothes. So, that was all new too. But I think I think with everything, I think trying to find the balance between the culture that you're entering and the culture that you're leaving, because you can't really leave the culture that you grew up in. It's always part of who you are. So transitioning it into the new place and making it your own while still adapting to the new culture is like a really, I think it's something, I don't even know if it's something that ever stops happening. It's just, it's an evolutionary process that just kind of continually goes on and on and on. So, you know, even today when I like things with school, and it always comes back into play where these are my ideas from before, and this is how I was raised, and this is kind of what I'm comfortable with, and this is how it is here, and you know, I have to really take time to think about it. You know, are those good values, and is that the way I want my kids to think about, you know, things? And it comes up constantly. It comes up constantly. I think that's the biggest challenge of Aliyah, is to learn how to rebuild yourself, but combining everything. Yeah. So
don't quit.
Yeah, because I went through a time where I was like trying to get rid of all the other stuff, and then I realized, well, that's not who I am, and now it's like, and I think just recently I kind of tried to have a, yeah, I think just recently. It took a really long time. At the beginning I got sick the first year because of all the stress. Also, my husband was flying back and forth to work in America. The language still now is very hard for me. I don't know why, but for some reason, conjugation of verbs is really difficult. I think school, language, those things were the most difficult. He's still going back and forth, but he's hoping this year to stop doing that and to just come here permanently.
Can you tell me about it a little bit?
What he does, or
living like this.
So I don't recommend it. That's the first thing. I'm not really sure. I don't really know how to explain. When we got here, because we wanted to build a house and we wanted to have certain things here, he wanted to go back and forth because his ability to make a lot of money existed over there and not here. Going back in time, I think for me and also for him, if we could change that around, we would have totally done things differently. I think it's better to survive on less and have the people close to you that you need. We didn't plan on it having to go as long as it is. We said at the most maybe 5 years, but we never planned it on, we're going on the 7th year now, and it's still, you know, right now kind of starting to finish up. Which is okay, but at the same time, it's taken a toll, and it's very difficult. I worked for a few years, but it was really hard to work. To have a career here, I want to work, and I enjoy working, but to work and to have to take care of everybody was just too hard. And I'm basically a single parent. So that's, you know, and for him it's hard because his kids grow up and he's not part of it. Commuting back and forth is not, it's not healthy. It took a toll on him as well, physically. He had a lot of physical problems from the flying so much. The only thing it gave us was the financial security. You know, we own our home, we own everything we have. We don't owe the bank any money or anything. So that's nice, but it comes at a price, and I don't think the price is enough. I think it's better to owe the bank money if I could change things and do it differently. He usually comes for about 2 weeks, and then he stays for 3 weeks, something like this. I know people who go like every Shabbat, they come back and they go for the week. That's crazy. I can't imagine that. But I know people also it's okay, like they like it like that too. So I don't know. For us though, it's not healthy. We also have a kid with special needs, although I've realized that all of my kids have special needs living in this country. So that's also been a very, very hard thing to navigate here. This country does a really, really nice job of trying to help kids that are not learning in the regular format or have some kind of learning disabilities, but to try to find those services, especially in like the outside areas, not in the like if you're not centered in a city, like we're not in a city, it's very difficult. It took us 2 years just to find people who knew of places that would be good for him. So like general, just like general disabilities, like, you know, hard time reading or whatever that is, those kinds of things, I think the schools do nicely because they always have a separate class and they integrate the kids as needed, and it's very nice. But my son has a little bit more of he's more of a severe learning disabilities, and for him the schools are very, very slim, and it was very difficult to find a place. Even the professionals didn't know. It was just by chance that we ran into somebody that he was learning how to read with, and they recommended a school, and now he's in an amazing place in Modi'in, Gvanim. It's an incredible school, unbelievable place, and he gets transportation there every day, which is it's a schlep, it's a far place, but it's such a great place, and it makes a huge difference. So that was a very big weight lifted off our chests, but. You know, we went through things with every kid. You know, my oldest daughter going through the army experience and the mechinot and trying to figure out how that whole system works. That was difficult. Even now, you know, she's 20 and she's in the army and she has an amazing job and she's very good. She's doing great, but she has, you know, she's still struggling internally, I think, because she still feels a gap that she's trying to understand and figure out how to, you know, make peace with it. And then my second daughter, Yardena, she had a crazy time with school. I mean, we put her in 3 different schools before she graduated. She was all over the place, and she hated it. It was awful. Can I say it would have been the same in America? It probably would have been the same. I blame it on being in Israel, but I don't think it was. I mean, the language and the learning was definitely a big factor. It definitely enunciated all the problems, but she for sure has the personality of a certain type of child that now she's learning in an Atuda program for the army in Ashkelon. She's learning electrical engineering and she's doing amazing and she loves it, and she's really she found her like place, you know, but even now she's like, you know, Ima, I really struggle with the reading and I'm not as fast and I don't catch on as well, and it's because of the Hebrew. You know, Hebrew with friends you pick up within 6 months to a year. But the Hebrew of the teachers and the learning and the books, it's like a different level that you spend your whole life trying to get to. I'm impressed at how far they've come. I feel bad that I haven't met those goals like they have. But every kid along the way, like we've had situations, mostly focused with. The one thing that I always thought was strange is I would think that in education, especially in this country, because we're like a country of immigrants for the most part, that it would be geared towards kind of helping people in a certain way. And I don't feel like it is. No matter where I go, in any kind of school that I've been in, the system that they have is just do less. You know, take the pressure off. But they don't have it change it around, do it in a different way, or maybe try this method instead of that method. Like I would be really interested to see somebody come up with a whole new way to help immigrants learn the language and in education, because it doesn't work the way it works now. They just have standards that are lower, or they take out a lot of homer, a lot of information, or they they make it so you don't have to reach as high. And I don't think that should be the point. Like every kid should be able to do as whatever they can. It's just, I don't know. Yeah. So that's the only thing that I kind of disappointed with the educational system in terms of like the tichon but the truth is that also in this country, what's amazing about education is that it's everybody from older people to younger people have an idea of learning. Like it's not something that you go high school, you go to college, and then you have a a degree and you're done. Like it's that's much more the attitude in America. Here it's like after I'm a teacher for a few years, I'll go back and I'll learn this and I'll do that. It's much more of an open environment to change and development and growth. So that's good too. So I guess you take the good with the bad.
Tell me about your parents. How do they feel with this aliyah?
My parents, okay.
With family, not only.
Yeah. So I'm the oldest of 7. It was very hard for my parents when we told them we were going to move to Israel. Not because they don't support Israel and they don't love it. They've come here multiple times and they don't have a problem coming. But because it's far and they want to have a closer relationship and, but they are happy that we're here. They don't mind coming to visit. But, it's like a bittersweet. I think my mom was more troubled by it than my dad. And I think just now what I'm realizing is that it's not just because I'm far away from them, but I think they were worried because I don't have a support structure here. I don't have any family here. So it's not just like I don't have them, I don't have anybody. So they were just worried like on me being alone. And obviously, with the news the way it is, they're also worried of what's going to happen, which is, okay, they can worry. But I think, at the end of the day, they know this is where we are and they're happy for us. My brothers and sisters also, I have some dati siblings and some chiloni siblings, and pretty much all of them are okay with us being here. My really religious brothers, they love that we're here because then it gives them a reason to come visit, and then when they're here they have a place to stay, so they're happy with that. It's just the same thing. It's just the distance, how far it is away, and they're not people that would ever move to Israel. So
צעד גדול לעבור באמת למקום בלי שום מערכת תמיכה מסביב.
Yeah. Now my husband just recently his brother made Aliyah. They're living in Elkanah in the Shomron, Elkanah. So I'm not close with them, but it is my husband's brother and they have kids. So I think it's nice at least my kids have cousins in the country now. So their friends have become their family. Like a lot of people here, they really pulled us into made us part of their families. So, yeah.
וואו. מה היה לך הכי מוזר ושונה כשהגעת לפה?
Very, besides everything. It's a good question. Wow, there's so many different areas. Okay. Well, I mean, there's little things like, okay, no, the biggest thing is definitely kinim. I know it sounds silly, but this is like I've spent a lot of time over the last 7 years with kinim. Nobody told me about this before we got here, that this is like an issue. And it wasn't until about, 7 or 8 months into the year that my daughter was like itching her hair, and then my next door neighbor said, maybe she has kinim. And I said, what do you mean kinim? Lice, bugs? I'm like, seriously? That's disgusting. I was totally grossed out. Now I'm not, but I was totally grossed out. And then sure enough, she was like going through her hair and she pulls out this bug, and I was like, I felt so nauseous. It was so disgusting. And then I realized it's like a thing here. Like people don't even like care. They just like, it's like whatever. Like some parents are really like oh, no, everybody, we need to get rid of it. But there's always those few parents that really just don't care. They'll be like, oh, eventually they won't come in their hair. And no. I'm not one of those parents. And it's plagued our house because of all of the girls and all of the hair in my house. It's just always in my house. Like, if it's not in my house, it's like a big bracha, Always. Oh, it's so disgusting. So I spend a lot of time with kinim. I think that's the most disgusting thing, but it's just strange. Like, I don't know why they just don't get rid of it. Like, in America, you don't go to school. If you have bugs in your hair, you stay home. And you go to the nurse and she does it, whatever. It's very strict, very, very strict. They have a lineup. In fact, the Magens were telling me a story. When they went to America for a few years, their kids were checked for lice before they got to school. And they had like a lineup, like all the kids sit in a line and the nurse goes through the hair and checks them all. They thought this was like the weirdest thing ever. But that's my norm. So that was a disgusting, weird thing. I think just certain types of people and the way they handle things, I think those are the weirdest, some of the Sephardi culture, especially like in Beit Shemesh. Like, I hate to say arsim because it's like a bad word, but it's like, that's like, I'm not familiar with that kind of behavior. So those kinds of things, like, they're strange. To be okay with your kid like not finishing school and just going into the family, like that's strange to me. So but besides that, I mean, nothing's too really strange. One time in Beit Shemesh, in Ramat Beit Shemesh, I took Avidan to a therapy appointment and I saw one of those girls, the religious women with like the hijab on. That was weird. That was weird. And she had like daughters with her, also dressed like that. So that was a little weird, but I don't, it's like the Naturi Karta, I think it's like, there's like 8 people. It's like, I don't think it's such a big group of people, so at least I hope not.
And one last question, okay? What do you miss most?
What do I miss most? I don't know. I don't look at it like I miss things. I look at it like I'm just kind of learning a new way to be. It's not like I miss something. I'm just changing. Like, at the beginning, my husband used to bring a lot of like American products. And now I just buy the Israeli stuff. It just takes time. It's not like I miss it, like I want it. It's just like you're in the process of changing. I think I miss the easiness of getting certain types of things. Like in America, you can go to Walmart or Target and you could get like everything you need in one store, and it's much easier. You don't have to waste your whole day going here, there, this. It's becoming easier here, definitely. From the time came to the time now, it's definitely gotten easier. But I think overall, if I would say I'd miss anything, or maybe how cheap things are. I miss that. It's nice that your dollar goes a little bit further, but okay, it is what it is. So, I miss the snow.
The snow, wow.
Yeah.
You have in Ohio snow?
A lot of snow. Yeah. The winter time is not just rain, it's also really, really cold and bitter. I don't know, I kind of miss that too. Every now and then. But if I were to go back there for the winter, I'm sure I would be like, I don't miss snow anymore. We had a lot of snow. So, I don't know. Yeah. That's it.
Okay. תודה רבה, וונדי.
בכיף.
ממש מעניין.
I hope I gave you everything you needed.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Wow. ממש.
Lots of stories.